Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe below to get all of my new videos and hit the bell icon to make sure they hit your notifications as soon as you log into YouTube. Thanks. Which leads me into the person that Trump put in charge of the U.S. military in the aftermath of this fallout of neoconservative politics, which is Pete Hegseth. So Pete Hegseth has been very controversial ever since Donald Trump nominated him at I believe the end of last year. And so no one, I don't believe, except for maybe the nomination of Bobby Kennedy to run HHS, has been more controversial in the American government than Pete Hegseth. Like, I don't think Tulsi or Kash Patel has faced the amount of scrutiny that Bobby and particularly Pete have had. And I think the focus on Pete's nomination is very, very interesting. In his kind of tenure as now the Secretary of War, not the Secretary of Defense anymore, Secretary of War, going back to the original name, which we should. Not because we want war, because defense, quote unquote, that's not what the military's for. It's a war machine, and we should call it that. We should just be honest to call it that. But, Pete has been, like I said, under fire since he got nominated. He almost didn't get nominated. Vance had to come down and cast the tie-breaking vote, everything like that. But there was this video, I believe this is 2 weekends ago. So Saturdays are my Sabbath. And so I basically spend the entire day, depending on the season, watching mixed martial arts and college football. I love it. It's the best. And so I didn't watch this game in particular, but Navy was playing Air Force, I think. And so the military academies clashing. It's a big deal. There's a lot of pageantry. I love it. Americans love it. It's a really, really big deal. And so Pete Hegseth goes to the game. He heads over there. I believe he takes some of his top brass over at the Pentagon with him. And he goes over to the game and he, talks to the troops and makes the rounds. And Pete's been doing this a lot in terms of he's making rounds on all the bases. He's doing the Pete and Bobby challenge and he's doing all these things and talking with troops and working out and talking with them and shaking hands and kissing babies and all that kind of stuff. And in the locker room, there was a video that went uber viral after the Navy game. I believe Navy won over Air Force. And Pete goes in the locker room with all the troops, and he's pumping his fist and he's yelling and he's like, yeah, because he played receiver at Princeton. So Pete was a college football player, and so he goes in there. He's like, yeah, like total Giga Chad, like rah, all this kind of stuff. So many people have had, and I think that the biggest thing this signifies is many people have had to eat a lot of crow about Pete Hegseth. Because Pete Hegseth is doing a fantastic job. A fantastic job. The troops love him. They love him, which is it's clear wherever he goes. They cannot get enough of Pete Hegseth. They love working for the guy. He seems like a great boss from what everything is said about him. And people in our chattering class are like, he's this, he's that, signal chat, whatever. But you cannot deny the reception that guy gets. When he goes to the academies, when he goes on bases, whatever, people love Pete Hegseth. And when you look at all of the unimpressive people he has succeeded, Lloyd Austin and Mark Milley and all these old, fat, detached people, Pete sticks out like a sore thumb in the best way possible, and it's awesome. I think that I don't know if I got a chance to talk to Dylan before he died about what he thought about Pete Hegseth, but I'll tell you this, Dylan would have loved serving under Pete Hegseth. He would have loved Pete Hegseth. And there's a reason why a lot of people love Pete. And the reason why is because he leads not from the top down, like the military has from the longest time, but he's leading from the bottom up. And there's this awesome story that happened very early into Trump's first term, where he was getting briefed on something in the Middle East. I think it might have been ISIS, might have been something else. But he had a bunch of top generals inside of his office, and they were going to give him a synopsis of something that was going on. And Trump kicked them out of the Oval Office and said, hey, well, why am I talking to you? I want to talk to people who are actually there. I want to talk to the guys who are actually on the ground. Give me some soldiers. Give me some guys who have boots on the ground and have seen this conflict to talk to. And that was very offensive to the top military brass. And by the way, that's the right approach. My dad always said this very wise thing. My dad's an engineer by trade. He wouldn't talk to the managers at a firm when he was looking over some things. He'd go down and talk to the people that are on the floor, that are on the CNC machines, that are making the parts, that are organizing things. Hey, how is this going? What would you change here? Get to the gemba is what my dad said. I believe it's a saying from engineering or something, but that's what he called it. I'm going to butcher that, so sorry, Dad. But that's the same thing that Trump wanted to do, and they hated him for it. And the reason why they hate Pete, one of the reasons why they hate Pete, is he's doing the exact same thing. And so this was no more apparent than the speech he gave a couple weeks ago, where he gathered all of the military leaders at Quantico, and he just dressed them down. Like we're fat, we're out of shape, we're unimpressive, no more beards, blah, 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 this, that, whatever. And I was like, yes, like you go, Pete Hegseth, because the elevation of, and by the way, I'm on the board for a military charity. Like I love our military, but at the expense of the people we actually send to do the fighting and the great inflation of our military top leadership. We had 7 generals when we won World War II. We have like 1 million of them now. And so it's a top-down, warrior-first, as Pete likes to say, approach to the United States military. And it's working. It's working. Because, so people like to say that image doesn't matter. But image matters. We do judge books by their covers. Don't pretend like you don't. I do, and you do, which is okay. We should just be honest about it. And so this is this whole like image doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter what you look like, etc. And we obviously shouldn't do this with like race or gender or anything like that. Like that's immutable characteristics. That's stupid and nonsensical. But this is an inherently leftist thing to say. Image doesn't matter. Don't judge a book by its cover. And the reason why is because the people that say this to a person themselves feel inadequate and unimpressive. And they want to hide their inadequacy and their unimpressiveness by saying, hey, if you judge me by the way that I look or the way that I speak or the way that I present myself, then something's wrong with you, not me. But that's just not how this works at all. And all of this to say that who you have running the show matters immensely. Who you have as the face of a franchise in professional football, who you have as the leader of a military unit matters. The leader of a company matters. Everything like that matters. And people are like, well, it's like you shouldn't base hiring someone based on their looks. No, but do looks matter? Yes, of course they do. And Pete is, I say all this to say, Pete is the exact face of who should be running things in the military, in the Department of War. He's smart, competent. He says what's on his mind. He cares for the people that he leads. He's handsome. He's remarkably articulate. He's a former Fox News host. He knows the people he's talking to. He's run several military charities in the past with veterans. All of these things are making Pete Hegseth the person that needs to run the military. Someone needs to be someone like Pete Hegseth to do the job that he's doing. And he's doing a remarkably good job, as I mentioned, a remarkably good job. I've been so impressed by how well Pete's been doing. And in addition to that, what I think is also important to say is that Pete is a reformed neocon. He's a reformed neocon. Pete Hegseth was a massive cheerleader for the war on terror. And he said that. And he has apologized for that. And he's repented for that. And he has said openly, he said it in the speech to the generals at Quantico the other day, he does not wish war on anyone. And I think he means that. He served in the Middle East. He served in the war on terror. He dropped out of, or no, I don't think he dropped out of Princeton, but he left he could have had a great job when he graduated, I believe, 2 advanced degrees from Princeton. And I don't know where he went. I believe maybe Harvard. I don't really care at this point, but 2 advanced degrees from 2 Ivy League schools. And so he could have gone anywhere, would have gone for a consulting company, whatever, McKinsey, okay. But he went to serve in the military. He was former wide receiver, former football player, etc. But he went to serve our country, and he had a neocon mindset, and he went back and said, okay, that wasn't right. We shouldn't have done that. And he adopted this kind of Trumpian, Jacksonian, Andrew Jackson, approach to foreign policy, which is essentially don't get yourself into a fight, but if you do get into a fight, carry a really big stick and use it if you need to, but don't go to the mat for it if you don't have to. And so that's again, peace through strength. That's what all of this is. It's a deterrent strategy. And Pete's the perfect guy to run that. He's the perfect guy for the job. And I got to hand it to President Trump, man. He chose very well on many of his appointments. And I can't think of a bigger rock star that he has picked for this than Pete Hegseth, because he's doing a masterful job and he deserves a lot of credit for it.